Hi everyone, Zoe here. Something I've been wanting to talk about for a very long time that is now in the spotlight again, and now that I am a content creator myself, I feel that I should talk about it and hopefully spread awareness about it. And that's the DMCA abuse that's constantly on YouTube and other forms of flagging videos down. We see this today with Sony and Naughty Dog most recently conducting it, then ironically stealing bits of music for their own trailer for the game, being guilty of the very thing they accuse others of, even though those others are completely innocent of such. It's completely inexcusable. But who's to really blame here? Obviously, those who flag in such manners are. But we are constantly ignoring the big culprit here. That culprit, of course, is YouTube itself. And while I fully understand the reasoning for them taking action against videos that are flagged for such copyright reasons, because they have to legally cover themselves to do so, what isn't acceptable is their lack of action against those who abuse the system at the same time. More specifically, the large corporations. Because if it was you or I going around claiming false copyrights on videos of other users constantly, or God forbid, one of the big corporations, I'm sure we would see our accounts get terminated. After all, those were overruled by YouTube themselves. Yet here we see these companies over and over again repeating this behavior, and YouTube just doesn't enforce the very same rules that it would put on you or me on these larger companies. They are just as much as at fault as the false flagger because they refuse to take action. It only encourages this behavior more and more. And there's plenty of examples of this occurring, and more it is occurring. While I've already mentioned Sony and Naughty Dog, and I'm sure most of you watching this are well aware of the more fine details of it, what I would like to do is talk about some other examples of it. First, the most relatable one that comes to mind is Sega. They were going to release a new game at the time of the Shining series, so what did they do? Well, to ensure that they would get the top search results on YouTube at the time, if you were to search up those types of games, they falsely flagged and copyright striked tons and tons of videos of anything like of Shining Force gameplay, or even people just simply talking about Shining Force and showing no content whatsoever of the game or anything, just so they can get more hits on their video. Yet what did YouTube do at this? Well, YouTube's behavior in this specific case was to actually terminate a bunch of accounts, especially of smaller YouTubers, that were hit by multiple strikes at once. Some of those people never got their accounts back to this very day, and this was, again, years and years ago. One of my favorite YouTubers at the time, Total Biscuit, who unfortunately is no longer with us, was one of those people that got hit by said strike. And that's how I learned of it. And that's what opened my eyes all the way back then to this glaring problem of not just users doing this against each other to troll or to harm other channels they don't like, but corporations doing it as a form, a way to attack content they simply don't want on the platform. Another example of this is a channel formerly known as Hugo and Jake, now going by Hannah and Jake. They have a very unique and custom intro music to their videos that's specifically made for them. You cannot mistake it to be anyone else's. And yet that did not stop a company from claiming it was theirs and attacking that channel unjustly. And while Hannah and Jake did eventually beat that and get everything back in order, nothing was ever done to that company. Nothing. They could just claim anything they want to, even if it doesn't make any sense to anyone. Lastly, I'd like to end on this example, which is just, it's prime absurdity. Prime. The Guinness Book of World Records, of all things. They asked a speedrunner who speedruns the original Super Mario Brothers game to send them footage of his world record and some brief explanations of who he is and what he's accomplished. So he does this, and they turn around and start claiming not only his video where he achieved this record, which he already previously hosted, but other speedrunners' content as well. So what ended up happening is literally dozens and dozens of videos of completely different people, completely different speedruns, were all claimed by a company that had nothing to do with it. Nothing at all. If it was at least Nintendo claiming it because of the music or because of some other reason, because it happens to be Mario, it's not fair still, but at least that would be Nintendo. In this case, it's the Guinness Book of World Records. They have nothing to do with this whatsoever. They didn't even care to check. They just looked at the automated system that saw things were similar on other videos and just accepted them all without any responsibility. It's really disgusting that they would do this and not actually watch the videos. Now, perhaps unlike Sega or Sony or other previous examples, they didn't maliciously do it, perhaps. It was most likely an ignorance thing. But it goes to show you how a big company can just crush a developer. It just goes to show you how a big company can crush a content creator. And, of course, again, nothing came of this. There's no YouTube action against the Guinness Book of World Records. Nothing at all. So, now the question is, why does YouTube do this and give these special privileges without any consequence to large companies? If I had to guess, it's most likely because of two reasons. One is the simple fact that these companies, for the most part, are more likely to gain more views and thus more ad revenue on videos over someone who makes a video on YouTube and probably isn't a very big YouTuber averagely. So YouTube will always side with the company because terminating that company's account, even if it's repeatedly abusing the system endlessly, would be a larger financial loss for them. It's pure greed. It's greed over their own TOS. My second guess on this, on why this is occurring, is simply because the fact that there's other business agreements beyond just YouTube as well. For example, can you imagine how much these companies that abuse YouTube also buy things like Google AdSense and other services through Google? So they don't want to sour the business relationship and will give these special abusive privileges on YouTube simply for those other paths of revenue as well. Again, it boils down to greed, but this makes a much larger picture beyond just YouTube itself. So the final question is, what do we do about it? And the truthful answer that I have is I don't know. And I'm not sure anyone knows exactly what should be done here. But I do feel what we should do, at the very least, is make this a topic that's more discussed, from large YouTubers down to the little people like us who are just beginning, because this is a community that completely relies on content creators, large and small. And when large corporations get to step on anyone else on the platform without consequence, it hurts us all. Not just the content creators, but you, the audience, as well, because the very content that you enjoy could suddenly be ripped away. I know this was a long video, and I thank you for sticking with me. But the most important thing you could do to help this issue is to encourage other content creators to talk about it and make videos about it. You don't have to mention me. It's not about me. It's about the entire community of YouTube. And if you really like this video, please hit like and subscribe.